All right, let's take you back to one of our top stories, the decision by the North Gauteng High Court that the former President Jacob Zuma must go back to prison. The Department of Correctional Services says it's going to appeal this decision. Let's speak to Singabakho Nxumalo, who speaks for that department, and find out why. Singabakho, good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time this evening. Asikhulumeke, in fact, why the decision to appeal?
As Correctional Services, we have indeed issued a statement confirming that we'll be appealing the judgment handed down by the Gauteng Division of the High Court in Pretoria for the medical placement of the former President, Mr. Jacob Zuma. Having carefully studied that particular judgment, we're of the opinion that another court may arrive at a different conclusion. It is our belief that the court misguided itself in the interpretation of the Correctional Services Act and the facts that were presented before it. Hence, it went further to then declare that particular decision by the National Commissioner to be unlawful and setting it aside. We will definitely outline the grounds for appeal in the court papers that we'll be filing in due course.
Mr. Nxumalo, I know that you say that you're going to be filing your papers in due course, but I can't help but ask, especially when one looks at your statement and what you've just said, that the court misguided itself when it comes to the interpretation of the Correctional Services Act. Which part of the Act, even if you don't go into all the other parts, if there's more than one, which parts of the Act would you say that the court misinterpreted here?
You will appreciate that we are unable to go into deeper details because that will be contained in our court papers. But what one can highlight, the decision taken by then, was confined within Section 75 of the Correctional Services Act. And there were other facts which were brought before the court when the matter was argued there. And having studied the judgment, clearly, a number of those facts were not considered according to our opinion. Hence, then they moved to say we have to appeal this particular judgment.
I know you say that it's still too early to ask you this question, but I can't help but ask, does this have anything to do with, as you say, that with Section 75, the amendments that we then saw over the years when it comes to the requirements of parole? Because, according to the Act, it's not only about terminal illness. There's other factors that may come into play to make sure that you place somebody on medical parole, and having tightened all the loose ends. Are you maybe using that particular amendment to that Act as a possibility here?
There is quite a lot of detail that was involved before that particular decision was taken. And also, why are we citing Section 75? There's also other sections which are relevant. But how do you treat inmates who are serving 24 months or less, who has the jurisdiction to preside over, matters involving those inmates? And what are other relevant prescripts within the Correctional Services Act that must apply? So you have all those details that you ought to then crystal, put them through, present them, and make sense to the court why we arrived at a decision that was taken by the National Commissioner at the time. And having studied this judgment, we do feel that there's a number of facts which were not considered, or perhaps maybe that the judge felt that maybe it's matters which were not worthy to be considered. Hence, then we are saying it will assist to take this to a different court, maybe make a different conclusion there.
As we wait then for your papers, but is it correct, and am I hearing you correctly as you say then that, part of the reason why you're appealing is that the former Commissioner of Correctional Services did not err, as the court said, in issuing this particular decision? You believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that he made the right call here?
That office of the National Commissioner was presented with a number of reports and other material. And the commissioner then at the time then had to apply his mind, also looking at what was before him, the evidence. It's not just material which is not medically tested, there were also medical reports there, and then felt that a person of Mr. Zuma with those conditions which were expressed in those reports, and also other conditions within our facilities, felt that it will not assist someone with the nature of sickness that is suffering from to be kept in a correctional facility, hence the medical parole placement. But then looking at what the judgment said, hence as a department we are saying we have to appeal this particular ruling by the Gauteng Division of the High Court.
As a final question then, when one reads the court papers that were filed by the lawyers representing the former president, one of the arguments is that they do not believe that there is a facility that can be able to provide 24-hour medical care that he requires and is entitled to as a former head of state. Would you also be responding to that? And should the court not reach the different conclusion that you're hoping for then, are you confident as Correctional Services that you'll be able to give him 24-hour medical care and provide all the other services he needs?
In our court papers, we did outline the type of services which are available within our facilities and what we are capable of rendering, and looking also at the rights of citizens, which will include inmates, and stated why someone with the type of illness that the former president is suffering from, it will not be conducive to keep him in our care. All those were presented before the court. And you look at the judgment and you look at how some of those issues were glazed through or interpreted. There's something there which, as Correctional Services, we really feel that perhaps another court will give it better attention. Maybe they may even take us to say perhaps provide more details to add to this effect. I think we'll see it when we get there, but we do believe that the grounds that will lay before another court, may drive the entire system into a different conclusion.
All right, Mr. Nxumalo, thank you so much for your time this evening. That was Singabakho Nxumalo. He speaks for the Correctional Services Department.